Good evening. Today we are just beginning the Das Bodh, and then if we have the time, we will do the Q&A, because today's session is pretty long, and even on Monday when we do the next session, that also is going to be extremely long. Today we are going to do about the Guru, and on Monday we are going to do about the disciple. So both these things are important. So we have to first do the Guru aspect of it. So we are doing the 5th Dashaka, chapter 2, the signs of a Guru. That means, who is the Guru? Samartha Ramdas is going to give an explanation of multiple types of gurus that exist in this world. You will get an understanding of the subject once we complete the chapter. So listen attentively. Chapter 2, Signs of Guru. Sri Ram. Those who perform miracles are also called gurus, but they are not Sadgurus, who help men to attain liberation. There are gurus who can perform magic. They create ash, they create magical coins and gold and watches and all kinds of stuff. The world calls them guru. Why? Because somebody who is doing magic is always considered greater than you, isn't it? So he is considered great, and a person who is a Sadguru is not him. That is not a Sadguru at all. Anybody who does miracles is not a Sadguru. Some perform mass hypnotism. They mesmerize people or do shady tricks. Use the evil power of mantras, repeat Shabara mantra, and show extraordinary miracles which one generally not possible for ordinary persons. Now you may think that there are no efficacies in doing mantras. When a person says some words, he's called a mantrik. And mantrik are people who are there in this, I think, whole of India. You will find mantriks are there. They are going to say certain mantras. There are mantras like Vashikaran mantras. Vashikaran mantra is a mantra, if it is said, the person who is in front of you literally becomes enticed. These are mantras which are very, very dangerous. So there are people who are called gurus who say these mantras, and they mesmerize and hypnotize people in mass number. You may think that there are no gurus like these who can mesmerize thousands and thousands of people. Well, there are, and they are still there today. They can do mesmerization of the entire group over there. And it happens. People get completely caught in that. So, Samartha Ramdas says, that person is also called the Guru. But he is not the Sadguru. Some advise medicine, some teach alchemy and how to get things only by hypnosis. So there are some people who will advise medicine. Okay, you take this medicine, you will get a child. You do this and you will get this. They give magical potions. They give all kinds of amulets and stuff like that. They are not the true ones. They are also called as gurus. Please understand, here the explanation is going to be of all the crooks in the world who are called gurus. They are all crooks. No guru over there. But they are called gurus because people are gullible, idiots. And they fall for this. So here Samartha Ramdas is giving an explanation how people fall for it. There are certain gurus who teach literature, music, knowledge about ragas, poetry, dance, or teach how to play many musical instruments. In India, we have this Guru Parampara, by the way, where the music teacher is considered the Guru. It's a teacher. They have special qualities for music. Some have special qualities for dance. Some have special qualities for singing. Everybody has some special quality or the other. So imagine tomorrow, Beethoven will be called the Guru. I mean, just imagine that. Guru Beethoven. Wow. Why? Musical genius. Pavarotti will be called, oh, he's a great singer, Oh my God, that fellow is a guru. I mean, you look at that guy. Guru. So these are gurus who are there in the musical field. They are called gurus. They're teachers. They teach tantric practices, magical amulets, talisman, teach to earn money to fill the belly. So there are some gurus, so-called, who will teach you tantric practices. Like magical formula. And you throw that formula on the person and the person gets enticed by it. And he is going to do whatever you tell that person to do. He's a tantric guru. Well, he's not a guru. Don't bother your head about it. They give amulets. They will create. From the air they may generate one amulet. They say, ye taweez hai. Taweez means an amulet, okay? You stick it in your shoulder or you put it in your this thing and you will get all the money in the world. Of course, you please get all the money and give it to me. That is the idea these guys who give the amulet say. Then, they teach duty or the business of the particular caste to learn livelihood. They are also not Sadgurus. Somebody who teaches another person how to earn their livelihood. Go earn this. This is what you do. That is what you do. They are also not called Sadgurus, by the way. They are not called Gurus at all. Our mothers and fathers are also teachers. Here I was given to understand, one father says to the daughter, mother and father are the first gurus. Of course they are the first gurus. They are the idiots who teach you how to get entangled in this world. They will say, you grow up, you become a big person, then you get married, then you get settled down, then you earn a lot of money. Yes, make a big house and live like us. See, we are so rich and we are so mighty, no? You have wasted your whole life. Think. And they are teaching the same thing to their children. They are called gurus. Mother and father are also called gurus. Well, but Sadguru takes us to the other shore of worldly life, and he is quite different. A Sadguru is a person who gives us enlightenment. He shows us enlightenment. No father and mother gives enlightenment, by the way. Okay? Right. The teacher who teaches us how to speak properly the Gayatri Mantra is also called the Guru, but that is truly a family teacher. Without wisdom of the divine, there is no liberation. There are gurus in this world, so-called, open and close inverted commas. They are going to teach you the Gayatri Mantra. From today, I am going to teach you the Gayatri Mantra. You say this, okay? After this, you will become enlightened. But nothing happens. You can make a parrot speak Gayatri Mantra also. Nothing is going to happen. So a person who teaches Gayatri Mantra is also called a guru. He is called the family guru. Oh, my family has a guru, One day I met one person. This happened many years ago. And somebody said, he teaches about Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, I mean all those. So that person looks at me, oh, you teach Ramayana? Oh, my guru also teaches Ramayana. I said, yeah, very good, very nice. I said, I don't know Ramayana, by the way, sorry. I don't know Ramayana, I don't know Mahabharata. What? But gurus are supposed to know all these things. You think gurus have got some, something in their brain? I said, yeah, is that so? I didn't know that. Our guru, he comes to our house and he teaches us all these things. And what does he do? Well, he charges us for all the fees, for coming and going and then doing all the puja part and all that. Yeah, he stays in a particular place in Karnataka. Very good. Congratulations. He is called the family guru. Why? The guru is a misnomer there. Don't bother about it. There are too many of this kind around. There is no divine wisdom in that. He is not going to impart any divine wisdom. Neither is he going to take you towards liberation or anything which is called enlightenment. That word itself is missing from their life. If they can reach enlightenment, they would have seen God by now, isn't it? One who teaches the knowledge of Brahma, dissipates the darkness of ignorance, and unites the Jiva to Shiva. This is the most important part a Sadguru does. What does he do? He teaches the path of knowledge. He gives knowledge by scriptures. He teaches scriptures. If there are gurus giving talk about, how to empower yourself into winning the lottery in this world or some nonsense, how to be the greatest businessman in the world, that is not a guru, that is your crooked guru. Okay? Sadguru, a person, we are discussing the Sadguru. A Sadguru is a person who teaches you the scriptures. Do you get the point? He teaches you scriptures, the knowledge of Brahma, removes the veil of ignorance from you, and unites the Jiva to Shiva. Jiva means the one which we are, Jiva. Shiva means God. Alright? One who again unifies the Jiva and Shiva who are estranged from each other by conceptual duality, by making one the devotee and the God, is the real Sadguru. This is again a very important emphasis on it. A Sadguru is a person who makes the Jiva reach the Shiva. Shiva means God, Jiva means the human being, the one that you are. And the path towards it, he shows you the path to go towards you, towards that divine. Which way? The devotional path. Please understand this. He teaches the devotional path of how the Jiva can become the Shiva. The tiger of worldliness has jumped upon the cow and the calf, that is God and the devotee, and separated them. One who sees these and hastens to save both by uniting them should be recognized as Sadguru. A Sadguru is a person who takes the Jiva who is so much embroiled in this material world, Oh, I have to earn my living, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to build a house, I have to get married, I have to get settled down. These are the nonsensical stuff. Oh, I want to go to Paris, I want to go to this place, I want to go to that place. Keeps on thinking. Then he says, I have to take a holiday. I have to enjoy myself. The person who teaches you how to enjoy yourself in the material world is not a guru. Okay? The Sadguru is the person who tells you, get out of that nonsense. This is the material worldly nonsense. Get out of it and hasten towards God. The one who teaches you how to go towards the divine is the true Sadguru. People have fallen in the net of Maya and have suffered much of the sorrow of family life. One who liberates such persons should be known as Sadguru. People get embroiled. They completely get immersed in family life. They have to run after their wives, the husband has to run after their wife, the wife has to do things for her husband, or you have to go to the market, you have to do this, you have to do that. We have not gone for a movie for such a long time, 3 months have gone by, let us go for a movie. Oh, we have not seen this, we have not eaten ice cream, let us go eat ice cream. We have not eaten from there, we have not done that. Oh my God, how many things. Oh, so many months have gone, you haven't bought me any dress or any clothes to wear. Aha. These are material worldly things. They fall into the net of Maya. Maya is the one they get embroiled. They completely get into this net, enmeshed in the net. They are completely, like you have seen a fisherman, no? When he throws the net, you're like the fish in the net. So the Sadguru is the one who removes them out from it. He liberates such person. When people are drowned by the river of lust which is in spate, the teacher who takes pity on them, jumps and saves them, should be known as a Sadguru. Lust is another beautiful thing that eats a person up. You know what happens? A person who is very lusty. Now, the sexual act by itself is so enticing for a human being that he gets so carried away by it. So when he sees the person of an opposite sex, it always triggers something. And when it triggers something, the lust is like literally putting the person down constantly. So the thing which you need to understand, the Guru is the one who removes the person out from it. Takes the person out from this lusty world. This person is called the Sadguru. There is a great constriction in the womb of the mother and the worldly life. There is a fetter of desire. One who frees man from this by giving him the real knowledge is the master, the Sadguru. The Sadguru is the one who doesn't allow his disciple or devotee to again fall into the cycle of birth and death. Why would you want to again go in somebody's womb? I mean, just imagine. It's such a horrible place. And you want to go and stack yourself in the womb and you want to wait for it to come out? It's such an ugly journey. I mean, people love it, I can imagine there are lots of people in this world who say, oh, I want to have children, I want to have children, I want to have children. Yesterday I was reading about a family like that. In California, this husband and wife, a young husband and wife, they had 5 children. Very young, small, 5 years, 3 years and all that. A few days ago, the husband died. And then the wife died. Now what happens to these children? You see, these children get into foster homes. They don't even know their parents. And why are these people giving birth to children when they don't know whether they are going to be alive or dead? I mean, you get children in this world without having any clue whether you're going to take care of them, It's like taking a dog and bringing him home and not even bothering about him. Oh, coronavirus is going on. I am going to my native place. Let the dog die over here. I mean, that is what they do to children. Why have so many children? If you cannot take care of your one person, why have so many children in the first place? Now you understand where lust comes into play? If a Sadguru was there in their life, he would have kicked their ass. He said, don't do this. But no, I don't think they have any Guru in their life. A Sadguru. One who opens the hidden meaning of the words and shows clearly the absolute essence of everything which is Brahma is the Sadguru, the refuge of the destitute. He shows the true meaning of the word Brahma. And what is this Brahma? Jiva is a pitiable limited being. One who by a single sentence of teaching the final truth breaks the bondage of worldly life and makes Jiva the Brahma is the Sadguru. With a single word. The disciple, if he were to listen to the Guru, with a single word he can attain enlightenment. You see, the idea about being a disciple If you have a disciple who is being told, shut up, don't talk. 2 minutes later, Guruji, I want to ask you something. Well, what is the answer? Shut up, don't talk. You see, if you listen to these words only, no, very soon you will reach enlightenment. The Guru says words which are very enlightening. I am not joking. You have to listen to them and follow them perfectly. That's it. Go sit in the corner. Don't do anything. You get enlightened. And it is not a joke, it's the truth. He takes the inner core of the Vedas and feeds the disciple by the utterances of the sentences through the ear, just as mother feeds the child. The Guru, the Sadguru's job is to take the Vedas and feed them to this disciple. So the Vedas are the essence of the truth. So when he passes on the truth to the disciple, that is the job of a Sadguru. He burns the doubts totally. He follows and protects the religion, which is the man's own, and never knows loose talk, which is outside the teaching of Vedas. The Guru's job is to talk only about the spiritual subjects. He doesn't talk of any other subjects. He gives the deeper meaning of the scriptures. The job of a Sadguru is to give the deepest meaning of the scriptures and to teach the scriptures to the disciple. That is the job of the Guru, Sadguru. He who freely does anything, whatever the mind suggests, and does not observe any discretion is not a Guru. He is just like a beggar hungry for objects. Suppose you have a Guru who is asking for objects. I want this, I want that, I want this fancy stuff, I want that fancy stuff. I still remember there are gurus who ask for Rolls Royce. Huh. I mean, can you imagine that could be a guru from any angle? Samartha Ramdas says if you find somebody like that, that person is not a guru at all. The guru has to live very humbly. Not supposed to have fancy stuff with him. No. Okay. Those who do not advise the disciple to do spiritual study and do not guide him how to control his sense organs may be available even 3 a penny, but they must be discarded. The Sadguru is a person who tells you to read scriptures and study them. The scriptures are very, very important. Spiritual study is a must. And he guides them how to control the sense organs. This is a fact which you need to know. If you have a guru who doesn't even show you how to control your sense organs, eyes are wandering here and there, nose is running here and there, ears are going, oh my God, this is happening, that is happening, blah, 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 blah. That is not a Sadguru. A Sadguru is a person who tells you how to cut off your vision from this material world and only use it for knowing the spiritual truth. A person who knows to hear only the words which will help you reach enlightenment. Things which you can eat which will help you going towards that place. All these things that are considered truly spiritual, he is a person who is supposed to give them that. One who teaches real knowledge, uproots the ignorance totally and ardently emphasizes the control of sense organs should be known as the Sadguru. Some gurus are greedy for money. Some are obeying their own disciples and some become very pitiable because of the desires which are extreme. Some gurus, they keep on asking for stuff. Can I have this? Can I have that? This is good. That is good. I still remember a guru who would say, I want to have the latest Ray-Ban goggles. Wow. Ray-Ban goggles? For what? Or he wants to become Tom Cruise? I mean, just imagine that. He doesn't want to fly economy. He wants a charter flight. Charter flight? He's not a guru. No. Somebody who does that is not a guru. He does whatever the disciple takes fancy for, such is a sinful passion embracing him. Again, the disciples have this habit. Guruji, I want this. Guruji, I want that. This is good, that is good. I want this, I want that. And the Guruji says, okay, let us go and have a drink together. I mean, come on. You can't have a guru like that. Have a drink together? No, that is not the right thing to do. All these passions in the world have to be given up. No passion. Dispassionate is the word. Remember this. A Sadguru is a person who is completely dispassionate and teaches dispassion to his disciples also. A guru is subordinating himself to the whims of his disciple is surely the lowest type. He can be called a robber, a deceptive rascal who is after money. So there are gurus who may succumb to, the fancy stuff which the people will offer. So there are lots of people in this world who can buy gurus. They pay money and they buy gurus. They will say, I'm going to send you $1 million. Please come to my place. Isn't that how all the singers can come to your place also? All the fancy singers, I'll give you 5 million. Come to my country. Okay? I have this country here. Come and sing over there. And they will go and sing and dance for somebody's wedding. So these gurus also, they go for that. They will say, okay, this person is giving me $1 million, 5 million. Okay, I will go to his country and I will sing over there, dance over there. Whatever he says, I will do. That is not a Sadguru. No. Guru should not be like the doctor. He should not cause estrangement between disciple and God and should not let the disciple be bound by the bondage. A guru should never allow the disciple to get into bondage with anybody. He is the one who is going to break that bonds, not the one who is going to make the bonds come together. So he is not a person who is going to say, okay, you don't have a good happy married life, come to me. I'm going to teach you about how to live happily ever after. You think Guru is supposed to do that? You think he's a marriage counselor? I mean, just imagine, if there are gurus who are marriage counselors, there is this small Kimru over here, is roaming around, is making grrr all over the place. So, Guru is not a marriage counselor. So if you are thinking that he's a Sadguru and he's going to solve your, material worldly problems like marriages or business issues, some people go to the, to the Guru and say, no, Guruji, I have got this business issue, I want you to solve it. What? That's not a Guru. And that's a commission agent. Don't go to this people. Only the Sadguru helps the disciple to realize the treasure which is the Brahma, which is pure knowledge of the Brahma, and at the same time it teaches physical aspects of devotional practice. The Sadguru is a person who teaches you the path of devotion to God. And when he teaches you the path to devotion, he will teach you what are the methodologies. Methodologies are very simply like these: singings, bhajan, kirtan, dancing, in ecstasy for the divine, getting completely lost, visiting pilgrimages, pilgrimage places of worship and all that. Those are the kind of things. Serving your Guru, that is very important. It is called Seva. Some gurus make an imposing show of religiousness and whisper the name and mantra in the ear of the disciple. Only that much is their knowledge. The poor fellows are far away from God. There are some gurus who will say, okay, I'm going to give you initiation. Come to me. I will give you magical mantra. You think mantra is available like that, on the roadside? Mantra is not something which a guru is supposed to keep on doling out to every person that he comes. That fellow is not a guru who gives mantra dime a dozen. Okay, come and take, come and take, come and take. You have these programs. They have massive programs and they will say, everybody is going to get initiated today. Sir, that person is not a Sadguru. No. A true guru is a person who doesn't initiate every person, Tom, Dick, Harry, Jones. He himself should have seen God, and he himself should be a divine person, and the mantra should be very, very sparingly given, because not everybody deserves it. Only where the uniformity is found among the teachings of the Vedas, the dictates of science and actual experience, there is the real Guru. And all the good qualities to him, only the aspirant should approach him with all respect. There must be fluent orator on the subject of oneness of all, but he may be himself very much attracted to sense objects. Such a Guru will not be able to give you the fulfillment of life's purpose. Now, first and foremost, you need to have a Guru who is very good in giving satsangs. His oration should be perfect. That means he should be able to expound on the verses, whatever that are there, very nicely. But he should not be a person who should be interested in the material worldly things. Okay, Guruji, I am coming to meet you, so I will give you $1 million, then I will sit and have satsang with you. No. That person is only selling himself. No. Such Guru has no conviction about what is the truth and is carried away by changing subjects while speaking, as the situation demands. His mind all the time running astray. The Guru has to focus on the subject. Whatever subject that he is teaching, he is supposed to actually focus on the subject and not keep on straying on other things in this world. Okay, suddenly a person will come, pop up over there. Guruji, I want to ask you something. Yeah, what is it? Come on the side. Okay, tell me. Oh, yeah. You want a kid? Your wife doesn't have children. Okay, very good. You come and meet me later on in my room. I'll give you magic mantra for that. You are doing satsang over here. Focus on the satsang. For the satsang means the subject matter has to be stuck to. If I'm talking about a Sadguru, I don't have to talk about, politics and this and that happening in this world. Oh, coronavirus, of course. I can't talk about what is happening to Donald Trump over there. That is politics. Example, but give the example related to the subject, not some nonsensical stuff. He sees that in the past there were desireless devotees who have real knowledge, who are equal to God, and because of occult powers also they have great yogic accomplishments. People get yogic accomplishments by doing all kinds of yogic practices. You should know, if you also do fantastic breathing practices, and keep on saying Om, 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 Om all the time, you will also have magical properties. But then you should also know one thing. A very funny thing is there. When you do Bhastrika or all these kind of yogic practices that are there, any which way the blood is going to your brain is getting overheated, the things are going to be exploding at such a rate that naturally you're going to feel, sees things in the air. Isn't that what drugs do to a person? You see, a simple drug like cocaine or all this heroin and all that kind of thing, what do? They do the same thing which all these Bhastrika and all this kind of nonsensical stuff they do. So what is the point in doing them? You are not going to reach any God anywhere. No way. God doesn't come after, if you have taken some drugs or something like that, he's not going to run after you. He'll say, oh, this fellow is interested in all those things. Get out of my way. Out. Then he says to himself, such was their capacity. My word knowledge is simply useless. Such selfish comparisons is there in their minds. Suppose you get a guru who keeps on comparing himself. That fellow is a good teacher, he speaks better than me. I am not able to speak. He speaks better than me. You are not going to compare yourself to any guru. A Sadguru never compares himself to anybody. Because his knowledge is perfect. He doesn't want to be compared to anybody. And he is not going to be bothered what other people teach and other people do. And he doesn't borrow ideas from somewhere else. You see, in all this material world, they will borrow ideas from other classes, other places, from YouTube, from here, from there, and they will give their own, classes. A Sadguru is not supposed to take all those things. No. He is going to only do his satsangs. He is only supposed to teach the Vedas and the Shastras. He is going to make his disciple go on the path of devotion. That's it. Only if such an acute selfish desire is snapped totally, God will meet the devotee. Those who are actually ambitious are false scholars, having only the word knowledge and are but slave to desires. There are many persons those poor people who are versatile in word knowledge but are maddened by desires, and those poor foolish people as well as dead by their desires. Rare to find a saint who is completely free of desire and whose opinion is always quite different from all others. This is one thing which we have to say. Desirelessness is the prime quality. Desirelessness is the prime quality of a guru. He doesn't desire anything. No fancy clothes. He's not even interested in clothes. He doesn't want anything which is going to be fanciful. You have got my point? He doesn't care for those kind of things. A guru should be such, a Sadguru should be such who doesn't care for any fancy stuff. No. Those who do not have the indestructible Atma in themselves, but as a chain of body consciousness is not relaxed, they miss the path of God and go astray. But the saint mentioned above is not like them. In their case, when they get occult powers, their physical body assumes great importance, and that in turn causes attachment to the body, which becomes a trap. So there are certain gurus in this world, because of their sadhanas that they do, fantastic amount of sadhanas that they do. You know, there are gurus in this world who talk about all different worlds. I have never even heard of those. Never ever thought that there are some great worlds existing in this. The kind of thing that I keep on hearing is literally like, oh my God, where is it written? And by the way, have you seen those things? They are concoctions of your own mind. Maybe you have taken some hallucinatory drug, and that hallucinatory drug is showing you all those worlds. A Sadguru's job is basically to take people from here to enlightenment, not to show them some world of theirs. Oh, there is this great world of mine where you can get to see the great people. Come on, there is no such thing. Yes, yesterday I gave you the examples of the different worlds that exist. But if you have somebody over here in this world who says, I am going to take you to that Mahatloka, I'm going to take you to that Loka and that Loka, don't get conned by it. There is no such person on this planet Earth who can take you from here to there. By the way, even Elon Musk cannot take you over there. Okay, his rocket can only fly up to Mars and come back. So, what world are they talking about? It's all creation of Maya. Don't fall for it. Don't get carried away by these amulets and magical charms. Don't even wear them. If the desire that is for things other than God causes various sufferings, and by that people go down in evolution, if they are showing you any other part except God, then they are going down in evolution. They are going down. When the body falls, power goes away and God is not realized because of these desires. Therefore, only he who is firm in the desireless state and holds fast to the faith that he is the Atma is the Sadguru who takes you beyond the ocean of worldly life. He is the person who is always lost in his self. He is the Atma himself, and he is going to take you from this material world to this place called the divinity. Okay? Path of enlightenment. That is all. The chief quality of a Sadguru is that he must mainly have pure knowledge and peace coming due to certainty of knowledge, and the state of self-realization should be constant. A Sadguru's state of self-realization should be constant at any point in time, even in his sleep. Enlightenment should be there within him. Then, pure knowledge should be coming from him. Knowledge which is authorized by the scriptures, not concocted knowledge. Knowledge which is authorized by the scriptures. Just now, I was listening to somebody giving a talk on how the degradation was happening during the time of Krishna. I was surprised to know that. Krishna never said this to anybody. And nobody in this world has the right to even talk about that subject. Yes, the death is written about, and the years, the gap between the Mahabharata and his death, they are very blank. You cannot tell stories like that. So there is no such thing. A person who can take you from here, from the material realm, to pure knowledge is the Sadguru. Over and above this, he should be evidently having no desires at all. His attitude should be completely uninterested in worldly life, and he should be very clean in leading his life as ordained by the religion of his caste. To this must be added the constant listening to the adventures of God, the spiritual, where there is a constant discussion on spiritual life. Where there is a constant choice between essentials and non-essentials, there only it is possible to emancipate people. Many people find great support in spiritual search in 9 ways of devotion. We have done the 9 ways of devotion in the last dashaka, in the last chapters. If you have missed it, please go and see the videos. You will get to hear about these 9 dashakas that are there. The different paths that were mentioned of devotion. You can go and study them. Therefore, listeners should recognize that Sadguru always gives importance to the ways of devotion of these 9 types. A person who gives the emphasis only on the devotional path of these 9 types, that the devotional paths are there, this person is called a Sadguru, not any other person. No way. Many devotees find peace and contentment with the Sadguru, having pure divine knowledge in the inner life and devotional practice with faith in the outer life. The spiritual side is baseless, which is not strengthened by actual devotional activities in outer life. Because if there is no purity in right action, people go downwards by corruption and misbehavior. Corruption and misbehavior is a part and parcel of the Kali Yuga. Corruption happens when you get involved in a lot of nonsensical stuff in this world. If a person gets embroiled in political controversies, if a person is getting lost in the material world of getting a lot of publicity, this, that, so many things, then that person is not the right kind of a person. You should know this. Therefore, in respect of self-knowledge, number 1. Number 2, desirelessness. The Sadguru has self-knowledge, desirelessness, devotion, performance of duty as per the status of his life, spiritual effort, discourses based on the stories of the adventures of God, listening and meditating, morality, justice, and good moral conduct. These are the 10 qualities that are mentioned the Sadguru should be having so that he can impart the knowledge to his disciples. If any one thing is lacking, the whole spiritual life appears to be below the mark. And therefore, all these good qualities alone adore only Sadguru. So the Sadguru should have these 10 qualities. His knowledge should be self-enlightenment. That means it has evolved from within him only. It is effulgent, self-effulgent. It's come on its own. He is completely desireless. He doesn't have any desires of any kind. He is only performing devotion to God. Okay, only devotion to God. He does his duties as per whatever his status is. He puts in spiritual efforts, discourses based on stories. He gives discourses. He gives satsangs based on scriptures only. If there are people who are giving, discourses not based on scriptures, but they are talking through their hat, that is not the truth. Discourses should be based only on scriptures alone. Listening and meditating. Morality. He should have a good moral character. Justice, he should be very just. That means whatever may be the problems in this world, he should have an absolutely just way of removing those problems. And a good moral conduct. At the end of the day, you are going to follow this person called Sadguru. And when you are following a Sadguru, you have to ensure that he has a good moral conduct. A person who doesn't have good moral conduct should never be followed. If any one thing is lacking, even one thing is lacking, then you should not follow such kind of a person. Sadguru is a protector of numerous people. He has deep concern about the welfare of many people. And there are many powers and capacities of the Sadguru useful to help others. The job of the Sadguru is to help everyone in this world. He should be a protector of all the people. There is no such thing as eliminating, oh, these people don't belong to me, so I'm not going to protect them. No. He should be the protector of all the people. He should have deep concern and welfare of many people. That means not just his family, he should be concerned about everybody. Whosoever comes to him, he should be concerned about him, that particular person. You see, there are lots of problems in this world. He should be able to sort them out with his knowledge. If the spiritual life is sought without the base of supporting actual practice of good conduct and devotional work, there is immediate failure. Therefore, the real seers are having great foresight and continue the actual practices at all time. Whether you are an enlightened person or whether you are a disciple, the lowest order of the disciple to the enlightened person, everybody is supposed to follow the path of spiritual, which is practice. Spiritual practices have to be followed. Whatever spiritual practice which your guru gives, which the Sadguru is giving, suppose he says you have to do prayers, please follow that. You understand? He also is following. You also have to follow. If he is saying that we have to be kind and considerate to everybody, you have to be kind and considerate to everybody as a disciple. And don't worry, this time it is Sadguru's turn. Next time it is disciple's turn on Monday. So wait for it. Those who cease to lead a good moral character, conduct and devotional practices are evidently seen as non-devotees who are corrupt. Let their so-called spiritual position be burnt. Who wants it? There are lots of people in this world who do not do spiritual practices. Such kind of people are worthless. You see, there are lots of people, they will say, I am a very spiritual person. You see, I will always do namaskar to God. What are you talking about? You don't even want to follow spiritual practice. The spiritual practice is first starting with the word discipline. Starting with the word faith in a guru. If you don't have faith in a guru, you don't have any discipline in your life, I think you are not worthy of the practice at all. Then who has told you to come in this spiritual world? Get out from here. Become that cockroach in your life, doesn't matter. The next life and the next life and the next life is going to be there ready waiting for you. Here I am waiting for you. Next body, next body, next body and next body. Where there is no actual good conduct and spiritual effort, there is surely danger of going astray from the right path. Such people are ridiculed even by persons of ordinary family attachments and therefore lead a pitiable life. Now, if there is no good conduct, the conduct has to be good. You have to be kind and considerate and loving and caring and always respectful. You should have the humility and the humbleness. If a person doesn't have that, then he is not even having a good life. He has to be considered a pitiable person, a gutter snipe. You understand? Actual good conduct and spiritual efforts. Spiritual efforts means practices have to be done. If a person doesn't do spiritual practice, that is not a good thing. Person is not going to grow. Whatever the Sadguru says, you are supposed to do those things. There is danger of going astray. Any person who doesn't follow a good conduct or do spiritual practice, that person is going to go astray. There are lots of people who will say, tell me a lot of times, oh Guruji, I am doing this, Guruji, I am doing that, this is happening. But it's once in a blue moon. If a question of getting up in the morning comes, they will get up once in a week and they will say, I got up, What? The rest of the days you are giving reasons. That is not a good spiritual practice. Yes, you are going to go astray from the right path. Such people are ridiculed even by person of ordinary family attachments. Your own family members, suppose you are on the path of spiritual, and if you are going to shout and throw tantrums and say whatever that comes to your mind, your own family members who are not even spiritual in nature, they will come and ridicule you and say, see, this is what you learn from your guru. This is the kind of language he teaches you. You don't have discipline in your life. You can't get up in the morning. You can't go for your walks. You can't do your sadhanas and exercises. The material worldly people will come out and ridicule you. And therefore, you will lead a pitiable life. A life of a person who is not worthy of being a spiritualist. If a guru belongs to a caste lower than the disciple, that also becomes very awkward. That guru becomes very shy in the assembly of Brahmins who knows Brahma. You see, if there are those people with all those things pointing, having there on their head, and if there is a guru who goes over there and he looks at those guys, oh, these guys must be knowing a lot of stuff. He is not a guru. A guru is confident because his knowledge is that effulgent thing which comes from above, not his own. So why should he bother if somebody is spouting great verses or something like that? No. He cannot be paid ritualistic respect or worship in the presence of high caste spiritual authorities, and one cannot eat purified blessed food given by him. If it is eaten, one has to undergo certain purificatory rites. If that food is not eaten, it reveals disrespect towards the guru, and also it is known by all that the guru belongs to lower caste, and suddenly the devotion of the disciple of his guru is spoiled. So it so happens that when the guru gives a prasad, and the prasad is disrespected by people, that is a very wrong thing to do. Oh, the guru is not from that high caste, that is why I am not going to eat his prasad. These people will go to hell surely, because they don't respect the guru. If you have a guru in your life, if you are a young man, and your guru has given genuinely, nicely something as a prasad or something that is worthwhile, and if the family members or people who don't even understand about spirituality, if they throw it away or if they ill-treat it or they do some kind of a nonsensical stuff with it, considering that he is not worthy of it, well, who are you to judge the person? How can you say that he is not worthy of it? You yourself are worthless, isn't it? And how can a worthless person go and dictate terms to the Sadguru? A Sadguru is a Sadguru. Please understand this. If that Guru is properly respected in the presence of Brahmins, they get angry, and if Brahmins are given high respect in the presence of the Guru, Guru is annoyed. Brahmins, they have that ego and they get a lot of respect in various places. But they cannot disrespect a Guru. No way. So there is a difficult situation on both sides, and the disciple is put to shame. It is not therefore proper to be a disciple of a guru of a lower caste. Naturally, a caste is what? The knower of Brahma is the Brahmin. Caste is not important the way it is looked at. The caste is what? The knower of Brahma is called the Brahmin. If your guru, the Sadguru, is the knower of Brahma, the knowledge, the incarnate, the eternal truth, he is the highest of the gurus. Follow this person. But somebody who teaches you all the nonsensical stuff, don't follow him. If there is a real attraction to do so, he may keep his relationship personal. The assembly of other good people should not be disturbed because they will be blameworthy. But enough of this detail. One thing is important. Our guru should be our own caste, otherwise there is a difficulty in awkward positions. Here in this case, I can say one thing. There are lots of people in this world who have distinctions. Like today, there are lots of problems happening because of the color. the race, the religion, the people from ancient places, the Aborigines are fighting for their rights, the people from color are fighting for their rights. Everybody is fighting in this world. And there are gurus born who are going to support this kind of a thing. No, the entire humanity has one guru. The support has to be uniform. There should be not distinctions between people. Such a kind of a person who is not getting biased in nature, he should not at all be interfering in this in the first place. A Sadguru should never interfere in these kind of things. Alright? There is a guru who gives mantra, one who trains how to operate machines, one who teaches rituals and actions related to sacrifice, etc. One teaches wrestling, one is a royal spiritual guide of a king. These are average gurus. If you get somebody who is going to teach you martial arts, okay, I mean, you can imagine that. No, that is not a guru, that's a martial art teacher. Understand this. One is the guru of the family. There are gurus in a family. One is a guru so decided and honored by the disciple. Guru may not necessarily accept the man as his disciple. One is a guru who teaches any branch of science and other subjects. And one teaches wrong knowledge. One teaches bad evil things. There are gurus of caste to which disciples belong. And there are gurus who give punishment like local authorities or a village master. There are gurus to people will go to and say, my brother did this to me. And the guru will say, okay, give him 20 lashes. Okay. I mean, that kind of gurus are there in this Middle East. Okay, you will find all these kind of gurus. They exist over there. Chop his head off. Okay. Chop his tongue off. Cut his head. Cut his hands. Cut his legs. This is not correct. I mean, what kind of a guru is he? Mother is guru, father is guru, one who is a guru is the king, one is a guru of the gods, one is a teacher of all humanity who is called world teacher or Jagat Guru, who is fully accomplished in all knowledge. Mother is also called the guru, father is also called the guru, everybody is called the guru, by the way. Even your teacher, school teacher will be called the guru, okay? So don't bother about it. All these are called gurus. But the one who gives you the knowledge of the Brahma, the ultimate truth, and shows you the path towards the entire enlightenment is the Jagat Guru, is the guru of everything. So there are 17 types of guru and there are some more. Please listen, they will also be described. Some gurus give teaching in a dream. Some gurus give initiation. Some are gurus whose images are worshipped. Some say that we are not our own gurus. There are gurus who teach the respective businesses of particular caste like carpenter, gardener, sculptor, Vedic Brahman, weaponry, etc., etc. And thus there are innumerable gurus of all sorts. You can get all sorts of gurus you want in this world. They're like chocolates. You can buy them. Even different brand names. Brand names, different contents also. So there are, one is, all kinds of chocolates are there. You know that, no? Dark chocolate, white chocolate, brown chocolate. All chocolates are there like that. By the way, I heard something very funny. In some place it was written, there is a black color and there is a brown color and there is a white color. They are saying, please don't talk about these things. Why? Because there is a problem in the world. It's a color. This world has color. This is a white color wall. I have to say that, no? You can't call that something else. So there are these kind of gurus also. Don't follow them. So there is quite a number of various gurus who are varieties of cults and doctrines are considered. But Sadguru is the one who liberates the disciple, is quite different from all these. The Sadguru is the person who liberates you. The listener should, in short, understand that where there is knowledge of many good things in a teacher, there is a real kindness in his nature. He is the real Sadguru. A true Sadguru is a person who is kind. I told you, he has to be kind and compassionate and loving and caring. He is the epitome of love. He is the one whom you should be completely devoted to. That is the Sadguru. Got it? Thus in the 5th Dashaka of Das Bodh, the dialogue between the Guru and the disciple, the 2nd chapter by name, Signs of the Guru, is completed here. We have come to the end of the 1 hour. Yes, next time it's a bigger chapter than this. I think we'll have to do the chapters and questions. You can send them over. I will try to answer them in the future lectures whenever we have them. Okay, Take care. You have a great weekend. And if you have the time, do join in for the Uddhav Gita classes tomorrow and day after tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, 6:30 a.m. in the morning. Take care. Have a great weekend. Bye.